Breaking news this morning, the Queen of England is under medical supervision right now. Palace officials saying doctors are concerned for her health. We're live with the latest details as the royal family travels to her home in Scotland to be with her. New this morning, at least 4 people are dead in a bizarre shooting and carjacking spree in Memphis that terrorized the city for nearly 20 hours, forcing residents to shelter in place. And it may have been live streamed. We're live with the arrest, the suspect's violent past, and how the survivors are doing right now. Seattle public school teachers are walking the picket lines again this morning, leaving students to miss the second day of the new school year. We're live with where the negotiations are stalled and the teachers' main concerns. A father-daughter duo with a famous last name want to show America how to use the Bible to inspire everyday faith. This morning, we're talking with David and Kristen Lumbaugh about their new book, The Resurrected Jesus. Are you ready for some football? The NFL kickoff game 2022 is tonight, and the fans are pumped about the weeks-long chase for that Lombardi trophy. We're live in LA, home of the reigning Super Bowl champs, with a preview of all the action. Today's American hero wants to honor those who died on September 11th with 22,000 good deeds this year. Don't worry, you don't have to do them all yourself. Find out how you can do your part and make the world a little kinder today. It's Morning in America. And a good morning. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Adrienne Bankert. We have some breaking news from Buckingham Palace. Doctors concerned about Queen Elizabeth's health, and Nick is here with more. Nick.
Adrienne, we are following this story closely. Buckingham Palace has announced earlier this morning that Queen Elizabeth is under medical supervision. The statement says she remains comfortable. The 96-year-old is at her Balmoral Castle in Scotland, where she often spends her summers. You're looking live at the entrance to the castle right now. Prince Charles and Camilla have arrived at Balmoral, and we just learned all 4 of her children have arrived as well. Her health has been deteriorating throughout the year, forcing her to limit her usually busy schedule. A clear sign of her limited mobility came just yesterday when Prime Minister Liz Truss and former Prime Minister Boris Johnson had to travel to Scotland to initiate the transfer of power. It was the first time in her 70-year reign she appointed a new head of government anywhere other than Buckingham Palace. Prime Minister Truss tweeted about the Queen's health just moments ago. She wrote, quote, "The whole country will be deeply concerned by the news from Buckingham Palace this lunchtime. My thoughts and the thoughts of the people across our United Kingdom are with Her Majesty, the Queen, and her family at this time." Moments ago, the Speaker of the House of Commons interrupted a debate to announce the news to lawmakers.
I wish to say something about the announcement which has just been made about Her Majesty. I know I speak on behalf of the entire House when I say that we send our best wishes to Her Majesty the Queen, and that she and the royal family are in our thoughts and prayers at this moment. I'm going to take no more, if there is anything else, we will update the House accordingly. Thank you. Ian Blackford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'm sure on behalf of all colleagues that we're saddened to hear the announcement that's been made, and the thoughts and prayers of all of us will be with Her Majesty the Queen and indeed with the royal family.
Now, Prince Charles is reportedly with the Queen now, and Prince William and the Duke of Cambridge is on his way.
Yes, Harry and Meghan, we're told, on their way.
Also, yeah. So the entire family will be there. So, Adrienne, this gives us the impression that this is fairly serious.
I mean, maybe ominous, according to our Niall Stanage, who brought this up last hour. Thank you very much, Nick. Niall is here, associate editor of The Hill. So her family's coming to her side. The statement from the palace, pretty unusual. Maybe the first time ever we've seen such fast-moving developments.
Yeah, absolutely, Adrienne. I mean, obviously, very troubling developments. You just used the word ominous. I mean, the simple fact that Queen Elizabeth is not in a hospital. I mean, of course, she has access to the best doctors, but she is at home or at one of her homes, and all of her children either there or on their way there. You know, just on a human level, that is not a great sign. So a very troubling moment, I think.
And we know the Queen's health has not been as well as it had been in years past. We know she had mobility issues. You know, she married Prince Philip back in 1947. And then his passing, obviously a devastating blow to the royal family. But she's still tried to stay in the public eye despite some of her health struggles and that loss.
Yes, very much so. I mean, the loss of her husband last year was obviously a huge blow given the length of that marriage. I mean, 1947 is a long time ago. Prince Philip was 99 when he died. But as you say, she has stayed in the public eye. I mean, she did, of course, appoint the new British Prime Minister, Liz Truss, earlier this week, although Liz Truss travelled to Balmoral for that ceremony. Again, we were talking earlier, Adrian, about just the sheer longevity of Queen Elizabeth's reign. Liz Truss is the 15th British Prime Minister that she has appointed during her reign, which is an extraordinary fact in itself.
Absolutely. And she became queen as a very young woman. What would you say is the thing that sticks out the most? I mean, she's so beloved around the world. In the UK, what is still the impression of the Queen, even after all these years, and despite a lot of critics, especially in British media?
I would say two things, really, Adrian. One is just simple continuity. I mean, to have a monarch on the throne for that length of time is just she's an extraordinary fixture of British and, of course, global life. It was just earlier this year that she marked her platinum jubilee of 70 years on the throne. So that's extraordinary. The other thing I would say is that she herself has avoided really any personal taint of scandal or great controversy, even though, of course, that's not true of the family more broadly. There have been a number of scandals or troubling personal developments over the past couple of decades. Those developments, I think, may have sapped the deference that it was shown to the family writ large, but Queen Elizabeth herself, I think, maintained a kind of elevated position beyond that and didn't really, she wasn't herself tainted by any of that, I don't think.
Yeah, she was always above the pale. She never she was like in a class of her own, and she still is, not just because of her unique time in the palace, but just because of who she is. And what a wonderful woman. Niall, obviously, a lot of thoughts and prayers going out to the family. Thank you for your time here on Morning in America, as always. Here at home, more sad news, this time over crime in Memphis. A rampage is finally over. The suspect behind bars after terrorizing neighborhoods for 20 hours, streaming part of his shooting spree on social media. This morning, 4 people are dead, 3 hurt in more than half a dozen shootings. The crime spree triggering several lockdowns and a chase. News Nation anchor Natasha Zuvez is live in Memphis, where that suspect is being held this morning. Natasha.
Yeah, that 20-hour shooting rampage finally at an end. And the random nature of it was just shocking. One of the killings actually streamed on Facebook Live. Before we run this story, we do want to warn you some of the details are difficult to watch.
This morning, 4 people are dead, 3 injured in a shooting spree that lasted 20 hours. The manhunt putting Memphis on lockdown, schools and businesses on alert until police capture the alleged shooter, Ezekiel Kelly. Police say he streamed a shooting at an AutoZone on social media.
This for real. Oh, my mama, Kate, how you think I'm playing? Kate, I'm for sure this so real, man, guy.
Police say there were at least 5 crime scenes, including one that involved a carjacking and police chase. It all started at 12:56 a.m. Wednesday when a 24-year-old was shot and killed. Police say the gunman shot into a home with 6 people inside. The other 5 were uninjured. At 4:38 p.m., a man was shot dead at a gas station. 2 minutes later at 4:40, a woman shot near a highway. Just before 6 p.m., a shooting at that AutoZone. One man who was setting up a church event ran in the store with his pastor and others to help.
He allowed my pastor's dad to pray with him, and he was very concerned about his family. You know, he kept on asking us if we could get a hold of his family. He kept on, I believe, his wife's name.
At 7:23, a man and woman are shot. The woman is killed and Kelly takes her gray SUV. Then at 8:55, a woman is shot dead. A minute later, Kelly carjacks another driver and steals a gray Dodge Challenger. Then at 8:58, police chase Kelly's car and he's arrested a short time later. He was released from jail in March after serving 11 months of a 3-year sentence for aggravated assault. Kelly originally faced 2 counts of attempted murder in 2020 when he was 17. During the rampage, he posted on social media that he would not go to jail, but now he's back behind bars.
We should not be terrorized by anyone. Anyone who wants to strike fear in our hearts and take away what we love about Memphis.
So that is 5 crime scenes, and so random. One victim just at a gas pump, another one at that AutoZone. The 19-year-old suspected shooter being held in the building behind me, and police still have no motive to release as of now. Adrienne, sending it back to you.
All right, Natasha, thank you very much. Today happens to mark a major stepping stone to the midterm elections. Just 60 days to go. President Biden's dismal approval ratings have begun to rebound. That's a result of some major legislative victories for Democrats. Republicans are fighting to retake Congress by slamming the president on rampant inflation and illegal immigration. But what appeared to be a surefire red wave just a few months ago isn't so certain anymore, firing up Democrats right now. The dismantling of federal abortion rights, of course, and former President Trump's alleged mishandling of those classified or declassified documents found at Mar-a-Lago. Tom Dempsey is live at the White House to break down exactly what all is up for grabs. Tom?
Hey, Adrienne. Yeah, with this morning marking 60 days until Election Day, our viewers at home can expect to see even more of those commercials showing off candidates and issues in their states where they live in. But, campaigns are really going to be going into overdrive mode now, including President Joe Biden. He's going to be taking his campaign message on the road, leaving the White House later today to head to Maryland for a special fundraiser with Democrats. The Democratic National Committee will be holding a fundraiser as part of the DNC summer meeting later today at National Harbor in Maryland. The president has seen a really busy schedule recently for speeches, and he's even called out, quote, MAGA Republicans, saying they threaten the country, and these upcoming midterms will be normal versus extremism. The president has also seen some momentum recently. His approval numbers are at their highest level in a year, up almost 10% in recent Quinnipiac polls. But make no mistake, those numbers are still somewhat low for the president, and there's many key battleground states that remain very close this morning. Arizona being one of the many that News Nation is watching right now. Senator Mark Kelly is up less than 5 percentage points over Blake Masters. In Ohio and Georgia, where the races are even tighter. The Decision Desk HQ has Senate races in both split by only 1.9 percentage points. And over in Pennsylvania, John Fetterman has a lead of just over 4 percentage points over Dr. Oz. That race has really gotten a lot of national attention. In fact, just yesterday, Fetterman announced he will debate Dr. Oz, hopefully sometime in the middle of October. Our viewers will remember Fetterman suffered a stroke earlier this year, but that hasn't stopped Dr. Oz from bringing that up on the campaign drill, criticizing Fetterman for his health and saying he's refusing to debate him. But again, we should get that debate in the middle of next month, Adrienne.
All right. Our thanks to you, Tom. Now, some of the highest profile races in the nation, as we've seen, are those for the Senate. Our friends at Decision Desk HQ are watching 11 races that they classify as toss-ups or ones where polling shows a one-time favorite losing ground quickly. Mitch is here again at the News Nation Smart Board to break it all down.
Now, we have been chronicling that crudité crisis in Pennsylvania, but these competitive races, they go well beyond that mess, okay? Beyond the Twitter beefs, look at Florida. This is Marco Rubio. He is the Republican incumbent. He is facing Val Demings. Earlier this election cycle, Decision Desk HQ said he had a 95% chance to win. Well, right now, that is more of a toss-up, including 3 polls done in the month of August. So more recently, and they're from 3 different pollsters, too. They put that race firmly within a 3-point margin of error, and it's even tighter in North Carolina, rather. So right now, this looks like a 50-50 race in Florida. This one also is pretty much a 50-50 race in North Carolina. Both Ted Budd and Sherry Beasley are competing to replace the retiring senator. That would be Richard Burr. And polls have shown since May that race is a dead heat for that spot in North Carolina. So now let's move on to some big money House races. We're going to start in Texas. This is Texas's 28th. It's down here along the border. It also includes parts of San Antonio. Henry Cuellar is the Democrat, and this has been a stronghold for Democrats for most of its existence. But he faced a tough challenge from a progressive candidate there in Texas, and he spent over $1 million, and now he's got to face a Republican in Cassie Garcia, and the Republicans are really trying to make inroads with the Latino community down there in that area. In Alaska, it is a 3-horse race thanks to ranked choice votings. And there's $3 million that have gone into this campaign so far, and 80% of the money is going to the Republican candidates. So again, $3 million, and 80% of it is going to these two. Meanwhile, Mary Peltola just won the special election, so she becomes the incumbent in this one. There's a lot going on with these elections. A lot of them are very close, and there's still 60 days, so a lot can still change, Adrian.
Yeah, change is the key word in 2022, isn't it?
It absolutely is.
Mitch. Yeah, a lot of factors into these races over the next couple of months. Let's get to our border report right now. A News Nation exclusive. Officials in Texas seizing more than 300 million doses of fentanyl over 18 months. It's all part of an ongoing commitment to secure the border called Operation Lone Star. Our Robert Sherman is live in Eagle Pass, Texas, with new information overnight. Robert?
Well, Adrian, Operation Lone Star has been going on for about 18 months now. It's been the state's effort to secure the U.S.-Mexico border. You can see it taking place right behind us, actually, with the National Guard Humvees apprehending a few migrants here. But a big part of that is drugs and the number of drugs that are being seized around the state. We have an in-depth look at exactly what Texas law enforcement has been able to seize so far, so we'll go through that. We've seen over 39,000 pounds of marijuana seized, 5,000 pounds of cocaine, 36,000 pounds of meth, 346 pounds of heroin. But the big one that everybody's talking about is fentanyl. Over 1,500 pounds of that seized. At the very least, that is 340 million lethal doses of the drug. And it is important to make the distinction here, Adrian, that this has nothing to do with the amount of drugs that are seized at the ports of entry. These are drugs that have made their way into the U.S., have been successfully smuggled through, picked up in traffic stops and things of that nature. And another asterisk to add to that, that's all that they know about. There's surely more that's out there that can't be quantified. But at the ports of entry, we're seeing a lot of activity as well. Just this week, we saw the record most amount of meth busted in one single stop at the Del Rio port of entry, $11.9 million worth of the drug, over 1,300 pounds. It's worth noting, Adrian, that we talked to law enforcement down here, and they say that all these drug busts, this is not a sign that they're getting better at stopping drugs coming into the U.S. They say it just goes to show that more drugs are coming over the border than ever before. Adrian? All
right, Robert, thank you. I know we're going to keep watching and monitoring this story and how it affects all of us. Well, we have some breaking news. Steve Bannon just turned himself in a New York City court. We have new video from minutes ago. You can see Bannon walking into the courthouse. Former President Trump's former advisor is under investigation for allegedly misusing donor funds intended to build the southern border wall. Those funds allegedly used instead on personal expenses like jewelry and a luxury SUV. The former president pardoning Bannon on federal charges for the same crime. That pardon does not apply to these state charges, and Bannon has denied any wrongdoing. Still ahead, a possible revenge killing. An elected official arrested in connection with the stabbing of a Las Vegas journalist. What he was writing about that may have provoked the fatal attack next. Plus, Seattle teachers are on strike and kids are out of class for a second day. The ongoing negotiations between the union and school district. We're speaking with a parent on how this job action is impacting her two children.